Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Day 7 edition of the 5-Star Grand Prix 2025 daily review series right here on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/at Scott E Wrestling. Of course, I am Scott E, and we are here to talk a all Blue Stars day in the Stardom 5-Star Grand Prix tournament headlined by Suzu Suzuki versus Saori. And you may say, well, that wasn't the main event. Well, today for me it was, okay? We'll get to that. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the show as a whole. I'm recording this right after. So I did not wait to watch this show. I watched it live. We're recording it right after. It'll be uploaded here in the morning. Coming off an incredible Cork and Hall show, I was fascinated to see what will this show look like. How do we keep up the momentum? And honestly, I think in some ways we did, some ways we didn't. Now, I think the benefit of this show is that everything got time. Every single match got proper time. You know, Momo, Kogo, Yuri, Hime, they had some real matches. Miyu Amasaki had some, got a real match. So that was a victory. And then, of course, we had Suzu and Saori, but there are some downsides to it as well. I don't think it's a bad night of wrestling by any means, but it was not 100% like we could have asked for. But hey, I'm happy to be here, happy to do the daily review. It's been a couple days, a couple days off. It was quite nice. This is the first of many this weekend. We'll have one here, obviously. Thank you for listening. If you're following along with the Dream Star, we'll have another 2 match review up like at midnight or whenever that goes live. Then we'll have 2 on Sunday and then one more on Monday. And if you're looking for the 5-Star Joe show this week, you said, "Where's the podcast?" Took a week off from the YouTube side of things. However, you go on the Fight Game Media YouTube channel, and we have a special that brings together a number of the dailies, in sort of a compilation type video. And then I shared my top 5 matches of the tournament thus far. That being said, now that we have reached this show, we have a new top 5 already. So that's kind of funny. But all right, it's late for me. I can't wait to go to bed. Have a long day ahead. But I'm going to give you the full rundown here of day 7 of the 5-Star Grand Prix because overall I enjoyed the day that it was. So, day 7, as I said, the headliner really was Suzu versus Saori, just one of the top matches you'd circle on the entire tournament calendar, and let me tell you, it did not disappoint. But before we get there, we start off with the opener, Sohrei versus Yuria Hime. Listen, I thought this match did its job. Yuri Hime actually got to have a real match, which was nice. Yuri Hime has not really had the chance to have a real match. And I thought, like, my first note here says actual match. A lot of hers have been short, quick, and to the point. This was a real match with real wrestling, and Ammy was willing to help her along the way. I thought ultimately it was a fine, solid match. Hey, listen, not the worst match on the show by any stretch of the imagination. And ultimately, I think Yuri Hime is growing through this tournament. I think Yuri Hime does have a solid future ahead, and Ami Sareee was able to stay strong in this tournament, just having the one loss, which is obviously very important for her. So Yuri Hime is officially eliminated after the loss. Obviously, already won with a sit out, Blue Thunder Bomb type. Usually her signature to get the win and eliminate Hime. That leaves Ami Sareee at the top of Blue Stars A with 8 wins. She is now 4-1. So pretty much locked into one of those top 3 spots. She hasn't officially qualified yet, but she's surely on her way. While Yuri Hime, unfortunately, is eliminated from the tournament. Yuri Hime is still averaging the second least amount of time so far in the tournament at 5 minutes and 23 seconds. But hey, I'm just happy she got a real match out of it. So we'll take that. Anyways, we move forward here now. Momo Kogo versus Konami. I think A pretty common theme throughout this tournament is that Momo Kogo kind of wants to get the most out of her minutes, but she is unfortunately the off day for a lot of these wrestlers. She is the off day. It's fascinating that she is the final day against Saori. You know, that's not a great sign for her. It really does feel like Momo Kogo is going to go over on the entire tournament, which is really a shame. I think when you watch this match, you get something out of it. You know, Konami gives her a little bit, you know, little trading back and forth. You know, she kicks her the forearms. But I think the bummer is like Momo Kogo's a good wrestler. I think we've talked about this, right? And she's just the bottom of this block. You know, this block has the likes of a Hina and Rana Yagami, who you don't want to beat a lot. They're kind of going with Hanako, obviously. So you're watching Momo Kogo have to really just take all the losses. It's a bummer, but it's the reality. Konami got the win here, getting back on the winning track after getting upset by Hina this past um, this past Cork and Hall show. That brings Konami to 4 points, so it's her first win since beating Saori on the opening night, while Momo Kogo is officially eliminated with 0 points thus far. As you can see here, the first like handful of matches, there's not too much to talk about. However, I think we did get a really solid match on this next one, and that was from Ayasakura and Bozilla. Listen, I've been waiting, I've been asking, I've been hoping that Ayasakura get a real opportunity to shine, get a real opportunity to have a real match. That's a common theme on this audio today, is getting a real match and getting an opportunity to showcase what she's capable of. I think that's maybe my biggest problem with the 32 wrestler tournament is like, yes, you're giving these wrestlers opportunities to be in the tournament, sure, which is like, you know, the point. But how much of the opportunity they're really getting when you know, if you look at the lineup, there are one, two, three, four, five, six, 7 wrestlers averaging under 7 minutes per match. You know, like that is not an average that you can handle. Ayasakura after this one's at a 6:39 clip. That's not a lot. It's not a lot. You know, she has a number, you know, less matches than everyone else because so obviously the Ruaka one got moved. Um, but, you know, it's tough. It's tough, and I think that's, like, kind of the unique part of watching this and, you know, hoping someone like an Ayasakura can shine because Ayasakura is a highly talented wrestler. I think she is the best rookie, junior wrestler, whatever you wanna say, that Stardom has. So, watching this match and seeing Bozilla give her so much was a pleasant surprise. You know, this match could have easily been 25 seconds, squash, see you later. Like that could have been the match, but it wasn't. And that's why I appreciate one, Bozilla's performance in this match. She's willing and giving to Ayasakura. And I obviously am going to applaud Ayasakura's performance because she was really good in this match. You know, it wasn't perfect, it wasn't smooth sledding, but sometimes those are the better matches. You know, this was for me tied as the second best match on the night. So, like, that's a victory. Bozilla gave her a lot, like I said. There were some scary moments, like, Aya took a beating in this match. I think that's, like, the number one thing I can bring up. Aya got destroyed. There was one point where she just kinda got tossed out of the ring. It was a little scary. And, you know, Bozilla was dominating, but Aya fights back, and I think that's kind of the beauty of her talent and her skill set and why I looked at this opportunity in the tournament as a hopeful point of, "Okay, she can shine here if she's given the matches to shine." And, you know, her tournament ahead isn't too bad. I believe so her and Ruaka will have their follow-up tomorrow, and then she faces Seraniano in her hometown on Monday. Very good chance that's a main event, you know, Cosmic Angel versus Cosmic Angel. I'm excited for that. I'm excited for that opportunity for her. I think she deserves that opportunity. She then faces Iida at Yokohama Budokan. If they give that time, it has a chance to really shine. And then her and Miyu Amasaki, 2 wrestlers I want them to get more time. Hopefully, that's a good showcase for her as well. But she was attacking the leg. There was this great spot where she has Bozilla in a triangle, and Bozilla goes for the lifting power bomb, but she's like, Aya keeps squeezing and she keeps it on, and Bozilla drops. I thought that was a really good spot. They continued on. There was a wheelbarrow from the top rope that Bozilla hit. That was scary. This this is honestly probably my match of the night, quite frank. Oh, not match of the night. Whoa, 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 whoa. Not what I meant. I think this is my second favorite match of the night. Like this was kind of the breakout performance I was hoping for from Ayasakura. Just get that opportunity, get that chance to shine, and she did, and she absolutely crushed it. I love everything that these two did. Ultimately, Bozilla won with a sit out power bomb, as you'd kind of expect. Like I said, it wasn't pretty, it wasn't perfect, but it didn't need to be successful, and that's what it was. It was a success for Aya, a success for Bozilla, and overall just a damn good match. So definitely check that one out if you have the time. Then we had the next match, which was Seraniano versus Ruaka. This was pretty simple, pretty by the books. You have Ruaka wrestling the heel style. You have Seraniano, who's been on a hell of a run throughout this tournament. It's definitely like the weakest match, I think, of Saori Ano's run thus far. But Saori Ano's run, for what it's worth, from my point of view, has mostly just been really solid to really good matches. She out of 4 matches, she has 2 of them on the worth watching sheet. She has some big matches coming up here. So, I think Saori's kind of doing what she's doing. And Ruaka, honestly, is outplaying expectations. I think she's over delivering in many ways. They play to the heel tactics in this match. Ruaka uses the box. Um, she keeps fighting, and hate gets involved and all these different things. She hit a great German on Theory for a near fall, and ultimately, as many Saori wins have come from, she is able to turn it around and get the pottering pinfall to get the win. And that's a major, major win, to be fair, for Seraniano. That leaves her in third place, 7 points in Blue Stars A. That is 3 points ahead of Saida. Ruaka sits at 3, while Ayasakura and Miyu Amasaki sit at 2. I think that's important. She's only 1 point back of Ami Sohrei. She's only 1 point back of Bozilla. Bozilla is someone who she obviously went to a draw with. Ami Sohrei, she did come up short against, but if she can continue to roll through the rest of this block, she has a good chance of making it forward, and she should be making it forward. She's had the performances. She is that type of star. So I'm happy with that. We're going to start talking a lot more about the standings as we go through these reviews, because obviously we're kind of getting down to crunch time. We only have a few more matches left for each wrestler, so that's important. But overall, a fine, solid match here between Seraniano and Ruaka. But we move on now to Hina versus Ranna Yagami. I was excited for this match, right? Their Future Stardom Championship match at Queendom. Queendom was really solid, really strong. They kind of felt like the leap for Hina as future Stardom champion. And I just don't think they were on the expected wavelength here. I think this was definitely under par, under expectation for what both Hina and Rana have proven to us over time. I think these two have shown us that they are capable of so much more. It kind of felt flat. I think that's the kind of the best way to describe it. It was a match that felt flat at times for me. Now, listen, this is just my opinion. So, and that's something I want to reiterate. I am not the only person deciding this. This is just me reviewing how I feel. This match felt flat at times. Sometimes it picked up. Sometimes it was exciting. Rana was hitting some great kicks at one point. And Hina hit some really cool moves in the end, which is again kind of what I was looking for. I think part of my critique maybe is that I think Hina showcased in many or all of her future Stardom Championship matches of she should be dominating, right? She should be on top in most of these matches, not the underdog. Now it works in a Sareee situation because that's in the hometown and all these different things, but so much of her offense is her dominating, her telling you pick it up or step aside, you know? And I think that's an interesting aspect of watching this match because that was the road we went down, but it didn't hit the levels that I hoped it would. It didn't hit the expectation that I had for someone like a Hina and a Rana, two people who have shown they have the history, obviously in the same faction. Ultimately, Hina goes for the clutch once again to try and get the pin, kick out by Rana. She then goes for it again. But this was kind of the point. Like this wasn't as clean as you'd expect from these two. They just had an off day. And still the match wasn't bad by any stretch, I don't think, but it wasn't good. It wasn't them. It wasn't what they're capable of. Rana ended up reversing the second clutch attempt into her own version, her own flash pin, which we've seen throughout this tournament. She beat Konami with it to get the win on Hina. So maybe setting up another future Stardom Championship match. After all, Stardom just announced that there's not one, not two, but three new blood events coming in October. So perhaps, Hina's going to get some big time matches on those shows. But the time has come. The reason you are all here for this review, we get to it now. Suzu Suzuki versus Saori. I mean, listen. At this point, I feel like if you're listening to me, I am always going to give all the credit in the world to the Sun God and what she's created and who she is as a wrestler because she is the very best wrestler on the planet today. And that's not going to stop. I'm just gonna be 100% honest. This match was fantastic. Match of the tournament. I think this is the match of the tournament level that I've been waiting for. You'll see it when we get to the worth your time, worth the watch section. This is at its level. It's at its own level now because what this match was not only a 5-star of old match, and that's not to say anything about this tournament being bad because I think this tournament's been great. Really the past couple shows, especially. Obviously the first few shows were up and down, but we've hit a good stride, right? The Sendai Pit show, the Cork, and especially. But this match was the level of years past. When I look back at 2022, 2023, 2022, I remember in this very show, there at the KBS Hall, that's when was it 2022 or 2023? Whenever Natsupoi versus Shuri happened in this very venue, that's a match that stands out to me. That's a match that I think it was 2022. Either way, that's a match that stands out to me from this building, and this is the same feeling I had watching that. This match was somehow became super personal, became super nasty, became super um what's the word I'm looking for? Intense. It had intensity from the word go. These two don't like each other, and I think the beauty of the Sareee match in this tournament is this crowd this crowd wasn't a bad crowd; it was a good crowd, but there is a level change when Sareee enters, and this wasn't a pure heel. We don't like Sareee crowd. This was pretty 50-50. They were fans of Sareee this time around, and so much of this match and so much of the beauty of what this match can be is that Suzu's willing to bring it and give it right back to Sareee, right? She's going to take those devastating forearms that Sareee trades with her, and she's going to give it right back. She's willing to fight around the ring. She's willing to fight in the ring. She's willing to get nasty. She's willing to throw her by the hair. She's willing to do anything it takes to make this match great. And that's what they did. They made this match great. This was top of the line, fantastic 5-star Grand Prix wrestling. This is why this tournament for so many years now has been seen as the top of the top. It's a match like this. 2022 had a lot of matches like this, quite frankly. 2023, before all the injuries, had a lot of matches like this. 2021, I love too. 2021's the tournament that really just made me fall in love with the 5-star and such. But this match was everything. It was everything, you know. Um, they traded, the crowd's just absolutely loving it and so into it and reacting to everything they're doing. There's a point where Suzu's taking a sip of water and spits it into Saree's face, and Sareee, rather than being like, "Oh, I'm gonna, wipe my face off and react to that," she's like, "No, no, give me the water bottle." Sips it herself and spits it right back. Like, that's just, it's one of those moments. It's one of those things that Saori has so perfectly nailed in her Stardom presentation that takes it over the edge. But they kept going, they kept fighting, they're trading nasty forms back and forth. Suzu, Suzu has some of the best forearms in the game. She doesn't, she is going to hit you hard and you're going to hear it. That's something that she is so good at. And obviously Saree's the best in the game at that. So it was really fun to continuously see them trade off. At one point they're at the top rope. Sareee hits Suzu with a bunch of headbutts and hits a super fisherman suplex. That was a great spot. Then they trade the biggest and nastiest forearms possible with one another. Again, fantastic spot. We work our ways to the apron where Suzu Suzuki hits the terrifying pile drive bomb that I'm calling it, because it's kind of, it's supposed to be like a pile driver, but she kind of power bombs her in a short sense and she lands like on the top of her shoulders. It was nasty because then Suzu just kind of let Saori go and Saori landed directly on top of her head. Terrifying stuff. But my God, was this match fantastic. It just was. And they trade headbutts at one point. They trade German suplexes at one point. A tequila shot for a near fall. That was fantastic. A German suplex for a kick out, followed up by Saori hitting a big time German on Suzu, hitting her running stomp, and then getting to the top rope and hitting a double foot stomp, all for a near fall. And in the closing seconds, you hear the clock counting down. Saori is desperate. She needs to go for that Uranagi. She keeps trying, but Suzu's not letting it happen. Suzu continues to fight through it, and Suzu ultimately denies the Uranagi, doesn't let it happen, and as Saori finally looks like she's gonna hit it for the first time in this tournament, the time runs out. This match was fantastic. This match is why you watch these tournaments. This match is why Saori is the best wrestler on the planet and the MVP of this tournament. Saori is not going to lose MVP of this tournament. It's not even a contest anymore. Listen, her last 3 matches are HANAKO, Momo Watanabe, and Momo Kogo. Now, 2 of those matches will be whatever, and that doesn't matter because the Momo Watanabe match is going to be a war. That's going to be a fight. If you thought this was a fight, if you thought this was a war, you don't know what's coming with that Momo match at Yokohama Budokan. Should be the main event. I don't know if it will be, but it should be. But this match was great. So great. Must see, must watch. Go out of your way to see it. It's just what they do. Suzu, best Suzu match probably since the May Sarah match at Queendom. She was fantastic. Here, as was Saori, just top of the line. In terms of points, for what it's worth, Saori now sits at 5 points, so she's got the two wins over Hina and Rana Yagami. She got the draw with Susan, obviously the loss to Konami. She's now in third place, or sorry, she's in fourth place currently with the 5 points. Suzu Suzuki's now at 6 points. She has 2 draws to her name, obviously back to back draws. So it's not looking good for Suzu getting in. I think there's a reality where she is the person that is left out of the top 3, which I am not a fan of, but we'll talk about that here in a second. But my goodness, go watch this match. Then we have Miyu Amasaki versus Saida. Listen, I have been asking and hoping that Miyu Amasaki can just get some sort of match sooner rather than later. A real match. Like I said it a few weeks ago, not a few weeks ago. This tournament hasn't been going that long. A few episodes ago, Miyu Amasaki just feels like so non-canon to Stardom when this tournament comes around. It's like, hey, you're good enough to be one of the really key parts of the Artists of Stardom champions. Hey, you're really good at this. You're really good at that. And then Tournament comes around, you are in the shortest matches. You barely get any time, all these different things. Now she's averaging 7:29, so the time has gone up a little bit, and this match certainly helped. Um, but I think Miyu Amasaki has been waiting for a match like this, a performance like this, something to show her heart, something to show her ability. And this was a quality match. Saida obviously is fantastic. If Saori didn't exist, she would be very comfortably in that MVP conversation, very comfortably in the MVP race, right? Because that is what this is all about. That is what she's all about, is bringing the best out of everyone, bringing the best out of her opponents. And when this match wasn't in the main event, hometown girl Miyu Amasaki, I said, "Oh, she's losing. That's such a shame. That's such a bummer." But the match was really creative. It was really fun. The chops. So, and I think the reason I like Miyu Amasaki is she's very simple, right? Her moveset isn't overly advanced. She's going to hit X Factor. She's going to hit DDT. She's going to hit, very simple moves. But Iida was pulling everything out of her. She's chopping Amasaki pretty much in the neck at times. And Amasaki's just like, keep giving it. She comes back, trades forearms, and hits her and hits her and hits her. I think for me and Miyu Amasaki, I think she needs a different placement. I don't know if Neo Genesis is benefiting her in really any way. I think it has in many ways maybe hurt her a little, which is a shame, because we don't get O2 line, which is sometimes, some of her best work. Obviously, the Neo Genesis trios matches are great, that she's in. I don't know. I want more from her because I think she's very talented. I think the world sees that. I think the world sees that. I don't know if Stardom sees that. She it many times feels like she's underneath the levels of a Hanako or Sayaka Carrara, which is crazy. It's crazy. I don't think that should be the case, but that feels like the case. There was a sick DDT reversal when Iida was going for the muscle buster driver that she hits. Great, great sell by Iida. Iida sells the best DDT in wrestling right now. Like every time she takes it, it's crazy. She hit an incredible lariat though in the comeback. Iida absolutely took her out, and in the end, she ended up getting the muscle buster driver on Miyu Amasaki to get the victory. Like I said, a very solid match here. The best for Miyu so far in this tournament. And Saida continues to roll on and be an absolute beast in the 5-star Grand Prix. A very fun semi-main event in terms of points. This was big for Saida. This was her second win, getting her to 4 points, keeping her in the fight of Blue Stars A. Miyu Amasaki sits now at 2 points, and I think is a loss away from elimination. So we'll see how that goes for Miyu. Next, and your final, the main event. Yes, as I said, listen, we were not putting this in the main event spot on the graphic over Suzu and Sareee. Suzu and Sareee was just too good. And ultimately, had this match over delivered or something, we'd have a different conversation. We'd have be, maybe I would have changed it. But this match, I don't know. I don't know. It lacked personality, it lacked excitement, it lacked main event. Worst main event of the 5-star Grand Prix to this point, for my money. Um, it just lacked everything you look for in a main event, and I don't ever expect to say that when Momo Watanabe is sitting on one side. But they want to make Hanako an underdog, and she is a tall. She's bigger than all of the wrestlers in this tournament. She should be powering through them and having those types of moments, and rather we're trading submission, like trading headlock type stuff. Like, what? That's not what you want to be seeing, like the giant wrestler doing. I wrote in all caps, boring. I just didn't find this match to ever really get going until maybe the final minute or two. And it was always clear when Hanako got the main event, she was winning. I I don't know. I don't know. Hanako's yet to take a loss in this tournament, which is crazy. It's just I don't know. I don't get it. She faces Saori on Monday. Listen, she will be losing that match. And then she faces Konami at the Okama Budokan, and then she faces Hina and Hamamatsu. Quite frankly, she should lose all those matches. She should not be in the top 3 of this. This should be Suzu's spot. And I understand bias, whatever. I don't care. I don't think Hanako is showing that she is at the level they want her to be at. I don't. I don't. And this was her opportunity, right? Hometown match, Momo Watanabe, main event. And it missed. It missed. And listen, you can tell me in the comments that you really like this match. I have no problem with that. It wasn't a bad match in terms of like the wrestling, but it wasn't good. It wasn't exciting. It was lackluster. It was missing the main event ingredient. It was rather just kind of there. And I think that's my big problem with it. Um, there was this spot where kind of like when the match started to take the turn from the boring headlocks and stuff to, Hanako hit a suplex on Momo on the apron, and then they rolled off, and Momo hit a suplex on Hanako on the floor. Wasn't a big fan of that spot, but that's neither here nor there. Sure. Underdog Hanako, like I said, keep fighting back, keep fighting it. When she does the forearm trade-offs, I don't think it works as well because she's taller. Why is she selling? I've had the ups and downs with Hanako. I know that. I like her match with Starlight Kid a lot because I think they work to her strengths of being the more powerful wrestler and being able to use that against someone like Starlight Kid, but it's hard for her in matches like this against a Momo Watanabe, where Momo Watanabe is obviously the veteran, obviously the upper hand, but like I don't know, it just didn't work. But Hanako hits a JP coaster that is reversed into a flash pin by Momo, so kind of the no sell spot there, and then miscommunication between Hayden and Momo leads to another JP coaster, and Hanako getting the victory for herself in the main event in her hometown, moving her to 7 points. She is now all alone for the second seed in the Blue Stars B block. So right now, if the tournament ended, it would be Momo, Hanako, Suzu, making it with Sareee missing at 5 points. I'll tell you right now, that is not how this is going to break down. I think Momo will get in. I think Hanako and Sareee will get in. I don't know. I don't want Suzu missing. I don't. I don't. When Suzu's putting on performances like she did on this show, and then this match just it missed the bar. It's the worst main event of the tournament so far. You can tell me I'm wrong. It's fine. I don't care. Listen, I'm tired. I'm having a good time with this tournament, but this main event was a bummer. But I'm not going to let it bum me overall because at the end of the day, this show had my match of the tournament. It had Miyu Amasaki have a real match, had Yuri Hime have a real match. Um, there's a lot of bright sides to take from this and head over to tomorrow with this tournament. So, with that being said, we now will take a look at the stats brought to you by Peps, always greatly appreciated. So, like I said, the Blue Stars A block is as follows. You have Ammy, Sohrei, and Bozilla both tied at the top with 8 points apiece. They notably face each other on the final day of block play. You have Seraniano at 7 points in third place. You then have Iida with 4, Ruaka with 3, Ayasakura and Miyu Amasaki with 2, and Yuri Hime officially eliminated with 0. Blue Stars B block, you have Momo Watanabe at 8 at the top. You have Hanako at 7. So Hanako's one of the only undefeated wrestlers, by the way. She has not been pinned or anything yet. Again, crazy. I don't know. Suzu Suzuki at 6, Saori at 5, Konami at 4, Hina and Rana at 2 apiece, and Momo Kogo eliminated at 0. So that's everything you need to know for that. And then worth the watch, as we always do here. As you see, the new section match of the tournament has arrived. we are here. Suzu Suzuki versus Saori. And the funny thing is, I think this can be topped very, very soon. But Suzu Suzuki versus Saori from day 7 is my current match of the tournament. It's a level above great. Then you have Saori versus Konami from day 1. You have Mesa versus Hana from day 4. Azumi versus Rina from day 6, which is my second favorite match of the tournament. And then my third favorite match of the tournament, Sayakamatani versus Hanan from day 6 as well. You have very good Sayakamatani versus Asusa Inaba from day 4. Suzu Suzuki versus Momo Watanabe from day 5. Saori versus Hina from day 5 as well. Rina versus Tomoki Naba from day 5 as well. Natsuko Tora versus Ayasakura from day 6. And Seraniano versus Bozilla from day 6. And then finally, you have Iida versus Seraniano from day 1. Tomoki Naba versus Starlight Kid from day 1. Saori versus Rana Yagami from day 3. Ami Sohrei versus Iida from day 3. Natsupoi versus Tomoki Naba from day 4, as well as Azumi versus Starlight Kid. And then for day 5, you have Seraniano versus Ami Sohrei. So that is that. Let's look at the MVP contest here. The blue side of things. How are things shaping up? Guess what? It won't shock you. Saori is a heavy lead at 3.94. She is ahead of the pack by a lot, walking towards a MVP role. In terms of blue stars A, it goes Saeed at 3.25 and Seraniano at 3.19. That's just the way it breaks down. That's the way it's going. And I absolutely love it. But that is it from me. I have recorded here late, right after the show. Hopefully, you enjoyed it. We'll be back with Red Stars action on Sunday. We'll have another review up. That show will be from the Okayama Convention Center. We'll have Meisera versus Usanaba, Unimizumori versus Wakasukiyama, Hanan versus Lacey, Starlight Kid versus Natsuko Tora, Natsupoi versus Reno, which I'm very excited about, Sayaka versus Tomoki Naba, that could be a fun one, Azumi versus Ryan, and then, of course, we'll also have the Ayasakura versus Ruaka match added to that. And then we'll be back on Monday as well. But that is it here from the 5-star updates, reviews, daily reviews, whatever you want to call it. I call it many things because I always confuse it myself. But thank you for listening. Thank you for joining me. Hopefully this will help keep you up to date on everything. That's part of the reason why I do it. And I thank you all for the support. I thank you all for continuing to watching. If whether you're watching the old ones and catching up on the tournament or you're watching this the day of, I greatly appreciate it. I greatly appreciate you and all of you who listen. So thank you so much for listening once again. Until next time, until Sunday when we got Dream Star, 5-star, so much, so much. Hopefully you all will enjoy it when we get there. But until next time, everyone, so long. See you later. Bye-bye.